Emily Carter stood outside a small diner on the edge of town, her hands trembling as she watched through the fogged glass. Inside sat the woman who had shattered her world 3 years ago, Samantha Reed, the woman who had taken her husband, David, and left her life in ruins. For weeks, Emily had debated this moment. Every part of her wanted to turn around, to bury the past, but something stronger pulled her forward. A quiet, stubborn need for closure. If you believe true kindness always finds its way back, please tap the like button now and subscribe to support more stories like this. Emily pushed open the door, the faint jingle of the bell cutting through the chatter. The diner smelled of burnt coffee and fried eggs. Samantha sat alone in a corner booth, thinner than Emily remembered, her once bright eyes hollow and tired. She looked up, startled, as Emily approached. "I know who you are," Emily said quietly, sliding into the booth across from her. Samantha's face drained of color, her lips parting in shock. "Don't worry," Emily continued, her voice calm but trembling. "I didn't come to yell, I just needed to understand." Samantha stared at the chipped table, her fingers tightening around a half-empty mug. "There's nothing to understand," she whispered. "He left you because he thought I could give him something better. Turns out, I couldn't give him anything at all." The words stung. Emily hadn't seen David in nearly 2 years, not since he'd packed his things, said he needed a new start, and vanished with Samantha. Now, looking at her, Emily realized that whatever fantasy David had chased, it had crumbled fast. "I heard he left you too," Emily said softly. Samantha nodded. "Last winter. Took everything. I lost my apartment, my job. Been staying at a shelter near Maple Street." She laughed weakly, a sound filled with more pain than humor. "Guess karma doesn't play favorites." Emily should have felt satisfaction, justice. But all she saw was a broken woman sitting in a greasy diner, clutching a coffee she probably couldn't afford. For a moment, Emily imagined what it would be like to switch places, to be judged forever by one mistake. That night, Emily couldn't sleep. Samantha's face haunted her, the same way her own had looked years ago when her world first fell apart. By morning, she made a decision that surprised even herself. 2 days later, Emily found Samantha again. This time, she wasn't there for answers. She was there with an offer. "I run a small bakery downtown," Emily said, her voice steady but kind. "We're short on help. If you're willing to work, I could use someone." Samantha blinked in disbelief. "You're offering me a job? After what I did to you?" Emily nodded. "Everyone deserves a second chance. I know what it feels like to lose everything." Tears filled Samantha's eyes as she whispered, "Why would you do that for me?" "Because hatred only keeps you where you fell," Emily said softly. "And I've spent too long on the ground." From that day on, Samantha became part of the bakery. She showed up early, stayed late, and worked harder than anyone. The other employees were cautious at first, whispering behind Emily's back, wondering if she'd lost her mind. But Emily only smiled. She knew that kindness wasn't about who deserved it. It was about who needed it most. Months passed, and the bakery began to bloom again. Customers loved the warmth in the air, the scent of cinnamon rolls and fresh bread, and the way Emily and Samantha worked side by side like old friends, healing quietly through flour and forgiveness. One evening, after closing, Samantha handed Emily an envelope. "It's my first savings," she said shyly. "I want to pay back what he took from you. I know it'll never be enough, but—" Emily shook her head, gently closing Samantha's hand over the envelope. "You've already paid it back 100 times," she said. "You helped me remember who I wanted to be." Later that night, as Emily locked the bakery doors, she saw the lights of the shelter across the street where Samantha used to sleep. A few women stood outside, laughing in the chill. Emily realized that her small act of mercy had rippled outward in ways she couldn't measure. Because sometimes the real power of kindness isn't in changing others, it's in saving yourself. We'd love to hear your story. What is the most memorable act of unexpected kindness you have witnessed or received? Share it in the comments below. Weeks later, a letter arrived at the bakery. It was from Samantha. She'd found a small apartment, started taking evening classes, and was rebuilding her life. At the bottom of the page, she'd written, "You were the first person who didn't see me as what I did, but as who I could still become. Thank you for not giving up on me." Emily folded the letter, smiling through tears. The pain of the past had faded, not because she forgot, but because she had chosen to forgive. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe to remind the world that kindness is never wasted, and forgiveness is the greatest act of strength.